Hi, Nett. It's so lovely to meet you and to have you here.
Thank you
Welcome.
for the honor. Thank you.
Oh, it's brilliant. I am so thrilled you're here. So, for those who don't know you yet, and before I start peppering you with questions, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, I'm a self-published author and I enjoy reading other self-published authors. I'm big into the indie community. And I my medium is short stories. I It's not something I choose. It's something that just happens innately. I guess my characters are rather short-winded. I don't know, but whenever I try to make them longer, it takes away from the punch of the story. So I keep them short and sweet, and sometimes not so sweet.
Ah,
I'm known for the twists. Prior to writing stories, I was a stay-at-home mom. I've worked with horses previously until the ground just got a little too hard. And my husband's retired now, and we like to travel around in our RV. And that's me in a nutshell.
that's wonderful. I adore horses. I adore them. So
They're wonderful animals.
great. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a whole other story, but I adore horses. I really, really do. Okay, so I've made a few notes here that I
Okay.
refer to, and I'm
Okay.
so glad you talked a little bit about, your short stories, because that's one of the things obviously I'm going to ask about. So what I was going to say is that you write mostly short stories, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's it
And
so
and
far.
yeah, and the great odes that I see you
On
post on
Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram, they're brilliant.
I have a lot of fun with those.
They are fantastic. If anyone isn't following you yet, they should, just to read the odes even.
Well, I'm
It's
glad you enjoy them.
brilliant.
Thank
They are
you.
so good. But I was going to ask you why short stories, but you've kind of said it sort of fell in your lap, really.
Yeah,
So, what I would like to ask is, how do you balance being concise? Because short stories are not that easy to write, actually, for most of us.
I've been told that.
Yeah, it's not that easy. Um, but how do you balance it? How do you balance the being concise and impactful with your stories telling, and then being sort of getting into the depth of things, and then having all the emotional content that you have as well? Because I've read some of your stories, I'm like, "Oh, how did you do that?
I wish
Tell
I could
us
tell
your
you.
secret."
I have had so many people tell me that short stories are the hardest thing to do because most people have these huge word counts. I
Right.
do not. I struggle to get the 24-page minimum to get a paperback out of my
Oh,
stories.
wow. Okay.
It's just completely innate in me. I couldn't tell you why, but I do know that when I have tried to make them a bit verbose, it takes away from that conciseness that
Yeah.
you're talking about. And as far as getting the emotions in there, that's kind of my jam, I guess, if I have one, is I like the feels.
Yes.
Not all of my stories have that emotional punch to them. So I mean, I have so many genres. I anything from historical fiction to mystery to a little bit of sci-fi. I'm just all over the place. But I just write what I see. It plays in a movie in my head, and I write down what I see. And I'm I guess I've always been rather concise with my words, although my husband may disagree with that thought. But when I have time to look at what I'm saying and edit what I'm saying, I'm very concise and to the point.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just so, so amazing, because I have written some short stories, so I know how hard they are to write. They're more difficult to write than novels, for sure. For
Not
sure.
for me, but
Yeah.
I couldn't put a novel out if I tried. I don't have the work.
Well, I've tried the short story thing. I am in awe of you, is all I can say.
Well, thank you.
Awe.
Thank you.
So, my next question kind of goes into that. So, as writers, we often stumble upon a moment when we realize our words can shape worlds. When was that for you?
I've always loved playing with words. That is my big love affair with writing, is just the words themselves, to
Right.
pick the right ones to use for the right situation.
Yeah.
And but I never had stories to tell. I thought I lacked creativity. I could put the words together if somebody gave me the idea, but I thought I lacked creativity.
Oh,
And
really
all I
not.
came up Well, thank you. And also I came up with these little snippets, which now being involved with the writing community on social media, I know are flash fiction. But at the time, I did not know what flash fiction was. So I just do these little scenes. It's like, oh, well, that's nothing. And then I don't even have any of those anymore. Right. But I discovered that once my kids were grown and I didn't have a job and I didn't have all this minutia constantly going in my head, that my characters had room to move in. And the little snippet, I was just sitting one day playing with one of those little snippets, and all of a sudden I get my best ideas when I walk or take a shower, but mostly when I walk. And then the next walk I took, that snippet grew into something else. And then it kept growing, but still only that 24 pages. I mean, they still stay pretty small. Some are a little longer than others. But at least it was a full-fledged story with the begin, middle, and end. And that is just how it all began. It's just I had the space in my brain. The minutia was gone, because taking care of a job and taking care of a family and it just all of that stuff. I don't know how working moms do it. I couldn't keep up with just being a stay-at-home mom half the time, much less being a working mom, So because my brain was just always buzzing. Yeah. And now it still is. It's just it's buzzing with fiction now. So it's fun.
Stories. Yeah. But it's interesting though, because I think we do need that silence. As you said,
definitely.
I do. We need that silence for it to come in. Mm-hmm. Really, it's like a download in a way, isn't it? Did you feel that?
Yes, I agree.
It's extraordinary. Yeah, so I think a lot of people would be very interested in that because they're always asking that, aren't they? Like, how did you find your path? And it's different for us all.
Yes.
So now you have alluded to the fact that you write in multi-genres.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
You see, it's all over.
Authors, we can do that. Yeah, I do as well. Many different genres. So are there recurring themes or ideas in your stories that you maybe saw that some of your readers prefer or that you might prefer?
I guess something that happens most often, I wouldn't call it a theme, but what happens most often is the little twist at the end. A lot of my stories, not all of them, but a lot of my stories have that little unexpected, ooh, didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And the most fun part about that is I usually don't see it coming either.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It's just like, where did that come from? But hey, that's a good idea. So I'll write it out. So if anything is common, it would be that.
Right.
I try to be true to emotion, whether it's a deep subject or a light subject. My characters, I try to treat them as a real person would react and say real things a person would say.
Yeah.
Even in a fictional setting. Now, of course, I try to make it a little more floral once in a while. Yeah. But my dialogue is very, very normal conversation kind of thing. And I try to make the words work outside of the dialogue to make it pleasurable reading as well. Yeah. So, but I do like the feels. I like the stories that tug.
Yeah. And that certainly, the ones I've read so far, definitely you succeed. Clearly you do. Right. Okay. So I'm referring to my questions. If I look down, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So can I ask, do you have a book that you're currently promoting? And if so, would you like to share a little snippet or the cover or something from that story with us?
Yeah, you asked me to be prepared to read an excerpt, and I've never done that before, so it was a little intimidating. But as far
as which book, for everything.
As far as which book I'm trying to promote, well, that would be all of them. But my most current anthology, I'll let you know that the stories I write, I publish them all individually. Right. And then after I've gotten 5 of them written, then I do an anthology.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so you can find them either on their own or in a group of 5. Oh. I currently have 6 anthologies and I think a total of 33 stories published.
Okay.
So I've been busy this past 6 years.
That's quite an achievement. Yeah.
Well, this is my latest anthology. I have 3 stories I've written since I put this out, but this is the most recent anthology, Mistaken Impressions.
Oh, that's lovely.
And the hardest part about, thank you. The hardest part about putting the anthologies out is trying to figure a common thread between my stories.
Right.
Because I discovered after the first one, you kind of had to have some sort of common theme, and that has helped shape the 4th and 5th stories sometimes. But this particular story, a group of stories, is about tales of misconception. And I did the artwork myself, and you can see it can be
beautiful.
Thank you. It can be either a butterfly or 2 faces. So depending on how you look
yes,
at
yes, I can see
one or the other.
Yes, I can see.
So,
oh my darling, your creativity has definitely landed.
Well, when you don't have any money to spend,
is that
there's necessity. So I have been making my own covers, do my own editing and all that stuff,
Oh,
but I have fun
amazing.
doing all of that. Yeah, well, it's fun to do. And now I'll put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing.
Oh, you're the same as
me. The story I'm going to read a snippet from is called Wakeful Echoes. It is actually the second of a duology. The first story is More Time to Dream, which is in the anthology before this and on its own.
I love the titles.
And they come to me during the course of the writing, which is kind of fun sometimes. Yeah. But More Time to Dream, the first story, we learn that Ren has a very vivid dream life where she has her soulmate that she meets every night in her dreams. Oh. But then in her wakeful life, she also has a family, a husband and children that are grown.
That's different.
Yeah, well, all of my stories are. I don't know what to tell you. Some of them are out there, but they're fun. Some are more mainstream. Some are more mainstream. But anyway, in Wakeful Echoes, she finds herself in her dream world 100% of the time. She can't go back to her waking world and has no memory of her waking world. Oh. And the excerpt I'm about to read is when she's beginning to discover through Nikolai, who is her dream lover, what exactly was going on. So
awesome.
Now that I knew of my dual existence, I became aware of the parts of this one that were missing, things which hadn't crossed my mind due to how complete I felt with Nikolai, family, friends, occupation. I began to fill the empty void of my forgotten reality with daydreams of what might be. And while in the throes of imagination, I would sometimes hear more echoes of those who presumably loved me, even the occasional phantom touch, which seemed to tug ever so gently. Then Nikolai would regain my focus, making me wonder why I'd ever been thinking of anything or anyone else but him, and I would ignore their siren call until the next time my mind would wander. A light hand on my shoulder startled me out of one such reverie. Sorry, Nikolai murmured, joining me at the little table facing our garden. We sat listening to cheerful birdsong accompanied by the rhythmic brush of leaves in the breeze, content in each other's company in spite of the pall caused by my irregular return. Nikolai. He took hold of my hand in acknowledgement, but avoided my gaze. I think he finally knew I was ready to hear what else he had to tell me. You are my heart and soul. I can't believe anyone in my other life changed that, regardless of the relationship I had with them. When he dipped his head in assent, I asked, so what happened to make you think I chose to stay away? After a deep breath, he spoke to the trees, still unwilling to face me. You never talked much about Tom. My husband, you mean? The word felt as traitorous on my lips as I knew it felt to his ears. Yeah, that's the one, he replied with a sardonic cut of his eyes. I pushed you into marrying him, by the way. What? Knowing he was complicit in my betrayal eased my burden of guilt, yet somehow made me feel worse. You needed more than what I could give you. As I took a breath to argue, he added, as much as it broke both our hearts, it wasn't right to deprive you of a full life. I took a moment to mull that over. Was it worth it, though? He finally met my eye. You were happy together, little bird. Years of heartache lay beneath his stoic mask, and I was the cause. I'm so sorry, Nikolai, I whispered. Don't be. Your happiness is what made it bearable. He looked away again, muttering, once I reminded myself anyway. His poor attempt at humor had me torn between laughter and tears. I couldn't help but wonder if I would have been able to accept such conditions if the situation were reversed. My mind said yes. My heart screamed no. You talked about the kids, though. I did? You didn't mind? Another brief glance. When you were pregnant, I loved those babies like they were my own. My throat tightened, thinking of how painful that must have been to love them, but never know them. You shared them with me as best as you could, he said, answering my thought. It was said lightly, but I knew how deep it cut. When the moment passed, I pointed out, nothing you've said explained why you think I chose to stay away. Yeah, about that. And that's where I'll stop.
Now we have to go. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh, well, thank you.
It kind of reminds me of the human condition, that we come onto this planet and we don't remember who we are, isn't it?
You know, I don't know that one is one of them. I'll take it if you think so. But there are a couple of stories where I have a deeper meaning that I didn't even realize was there until after I was done with it. And I would read back over it and go, oh, wow, okay. Oh. So it's fun when a story presents itself to me as if I wasn't the one that wrote it.
Yeah.
Where I will see that, wow, that was kind of deep, or wow, that surprises me. And that's fun because I always feel like a fly on the wall. I don't really feel like I'm the one. I feel like I'm putting the words together, but I don't feel like I'm the one making the story. It just all pops in my head out of the ether. And it's very fun to try to share whatever craziness goes on up here.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for reading that.
Well, thank you.
That's lovely. And now, of course, we need to buy the book so we can finish the story. Curiosity has been spiked. Thank you so much. Yes, that's amazing. I really love that. Okay, so let me ask you some more questions because I don't want us to run out of time.
Okay.
Before I got all your answers. Okay, so I was going to ask you, how long typically does it take you to write a book? And are you a plotter or a pantser?
Or a plantser?
Or both?
Yes.
A plantser, yeah.
I'm a very slow writer. And I only write maybe about an hour a day. And I don't write every day. So sometimes different creative pursuits will take that creative time, which could be either cover art or Instagram posts that I put together or whatever. But an hour to an hour and a half a day, I usually have my little time where I sit and do something. Based on how slow I write and the fact that I constantly edit, I do not spit it out like most people do. I'm constantly editing. It will take me roughly 2 months from the first concept of an idea to finished product.
Right.
Okay. And as far as I have tried, like the story I just published, Bones.
Yeah.
That was one of the rare stories that popped into my head fully formed. And I did not like it. I liked the story, but I did not like the concept of the story. Right. And I tried with vigor to change it, and it could not be changed. These are not my stories I'm telling. So, yeah, I don't particularly plan anything. I mean, once in a while I'm writing what I have seen and what has been presented to me, I'll go, hey, this might be a little better at this. And if my characters don't disagree, I'm able to do it. Right. But sometimes they'll fight me tooth and nail. So
that's incredible. Yeah, that's interesting.
I would say I'm more of a pantser, but I will take notes. I take notes as I come with the ideas because my memory's crap. So I will take notes, but I don't really call that plotting because all I'm doing is the crib notes of what I've seen, So yeah,
that's extraordinary. Yeah, I mean, I can relate a little tiny bit because I've had books downloaded to me like that, where I've dreamt chapters and I can't wait to wake up in the morning to write as fast as I can. My goodness, yeah. So I get it. Yes, I do understand. But it brings its own stress. Right. And then my next question is, and this is one I really want to know, what has been your biggest challenge as a short story writer, and how have you overcome it?
I don't know that I've overcome it. I mean, we all of us indie authors have problem getting seen and promoting our work because we don't have the big engines behind us to push it. So I am not alone in that. But as a short story author, I think it is even harder because most people are not interested in short stories. And honestly, I felt the same way before I became one myself. I thought they would lack what a novel could offer.
Okay.
And I have been told that my stories are like mini novels because the short stories have the reputation of being frivolous or being a lot of horror. And I have written one or two horror, but generally lacking depth.
Right.
And one thing I can say with certainty is my stories do not lack depth.
No, they don't. No,
thank
not the
you.
ones on the left, definitely not. No.
Because that is my innate personality, is to attack those deep subjects. So I put that into my stories and into my writing. So that is the hardest thing that I struggle with, is just to be taken seriously, or to even have someone have interest in even trying my stories, because they are short. Even though people have said, wow, you've done it so well, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Because they're such a hard thing to do. But if I could write a novel, I would, because maybe I'd be more successful if I did, because they're more popular. But I just don't, at this point in time, have that many words in me. So,
but
like I said, despite what my husband may think, I don't have that many words.
That's what I was thinking. Men always think that about us, don't they? We talk but no, but this is actually a really serious point, because I mean, we live in a world where everybody wants instant gratification. So I would have thought that short stories would actually be the thing that would be maybe more attractive, because
from your lips,
Yeah.
Well, maybe one day, but I think the instant gratification has a lot to do with visual, more so than like videos and whatnot, rather than books. I think when somebody wants to sit down and read, they want to sink their teeth into something. And like I said, I was a victim of that too, until because I've been reading indie authors for nearly as long as I've been writing, and I read them predominantly, or not predominantly, I read them completely. That's all I read now.
Right.
And I have come across many short story authors and have been blown away by their work. And I think it's just a preconceived notion, until somebody takes the chance, that short stories just aren't enough. And for someone who really wants to sit down and be involved for hours, obviously a short story is going to do that. But if your concern is it's not going to have enough meaning, it's not going to have enough depth, enough plot, enough character, then that's not always the case. I mean, they're just like any novels, or some novels, some short stories are lacking, but not all, you know. So that maybe one day.
It's interesting though, because like I said, I mean, am I dreaming, or does Amazon have a sort of thing that they call it short stories and short reads?
It is Kindle Vella, and it is, if we're talking about the same thing, it is where people drop bits of a story, so they're like episodes of a longer story.
Oh, I see. But that's something new, isn't it? Yeah. No, I mean, they've got there's a thing where unfortunately, because I don't write that many short stories, I don't have enough experience of it. But I know there's something on Amazon where you put something, it's like almost like a category. It's short stories, short reads, like that. And it's specifically aimed at people who want to read short books during their lunch hour or on their commute or something like that.
I'll have to check that out. I mean, you can fill in the category of what your story is, and mine always includes short story, and if that's what they're searching for, I guess that will pop up.
Right.
What I was talking about, Kindle Vella, they're actually discontinuing.
Yes, that's a new thing though, isn't it?
It was not in the relatively new, but now they're going to be discontinuing it, I understand.
Oh, really?
I guess there wasn't enough interest generated in it.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it ever made it to the UK, did it? I think it was.
I don't know. I'm not aware.
Yeah. Interesting though, because I mean, like I said, I thought we lived in a fast world, like where everybody wants everything in bite size. So I would have thought that
I got lots of bite sizes. Everybody wants it. Like I said, I got 33 stories out there.
That's extraordinary. Oh, well, definitely something to consider then. Okay, so my next question, because we are kind of coming to the end, and I want to ask you these because I think people will, definitely get something out of this. So I'm going to skip a few.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you this. Which authors or stories have influenced your writing, and in what ways have they shaped your work, if at all?
Well, for traditional authors, traditionally published authors,
authors.
Well, to start with my love of words, at way too young of an age, I devoured Stephen King. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Anything I could get my hands on. I mean, I can't handle horror as well anymore, But at the time, the horror was great, but that's not why I left him. I left him because he was a wordsmith. He
Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely fantastic wordsmith. And then, there are many other authors between him, but the most recent before I started writing was Diana Gabaldon, because her Outlander series,
Yes, it's fabulous.
the way she puts her words together. So, and that's actually what inspired me to try to write down these little snippets again that I had stopped doing for so long. Now, as far as indie authors, wow, there's so many wonderful. I mean, you're one.
Oh, thank you, darling. Oh, gosh.
and I don't want to start naming names because I don't want somebody to feel left out. But they know who they are because I read their books and review their books regularly. There's just so much talent in the indie community, and I wish we could get seen more easily. But
but I think that's changing, isn't it? I have a feeling, just from, because as like I said, I'm not really on social media that much, but from a few bits and pieces I've seen, it seems as though
some are very successful. So some have been very successful. You see them make posts like, 1 million pages read and all of this stuff, and good for them. I'm their biggest cheerleader, but I think the majority of us aren't quite as successful as that. And thank goodness I'm not in it for the money. a little notoriety might be nice, but I'm definitely not in it for the money. And I just love playing with words and sharing stories and have people hopefully enjoy the words I put together.
Definitely. So like I said, I mean, the few that I've read of yours, amazing.
Thank you.
It's one of the reasons I thought it would be great, for people to hear what you've written. So that's why I asked you to read it.
That was weird reading that. I've never done that before.
Oh, great for a first time. No, we don't tell them. Nobody will know. Okay, and then now we do this anyway when we're writing, but I wanted to ask you this question. If you could step into a short story for a day, your own or somebody else's, which one would it be and why?
I don't know if I want to step into any story because most of them have bad things happen. And I'm just not that interested in something bad happening to me.
Unless it's a complete romance, rom-com type thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we don't have to answer.
Yeah, because most of the books I read, people are struggling, and I'm at a point where I'm not struggling anymore, and I'd like to keep it that way. So I enjoy visiting, but I don't want to live there.
Okay, I get it. Totally get it.
It's hard enough being involved in it for the hour I'm writing each day.
Yes,
some of these are.
It does take it out of you, doesn't it?
Yeah. So,
writing,
especially the more emotional ones that I've written. One story, When a Good Man Dies, I wrote quite some time ago, but my husband is retired law enforcement. And When a Good Man Dies was like my fears being put on the page of what might have happened if he died.
Oh gosh.
And it takes the woman character first person through learning how she was informed, through the funeral process, through grief and recovery, and that tore me up. So
oh God, yes. Oh my darling, yes.
But it was cathartic at the same time. So
I would imagine so. Yes, you're letting it out and letting it go. Okay, well, we have actually come to the very end of our time together. So I'm going to I've asked you to give me some of your links and stuff, and I'll post it below this video. And anything else. And I really urge people to come and have a look at Nett's books. She's Nett's Shorts on Instagram, and you have to come and see the odes. They're brilliant. They are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
They're fun to write. They are
so good. So just finally and very quickly, where do you see yourself going and what's next?
I'm just happy to have stories to write. I don't know that I have a next step. My fear is that my last story will be just that, because I had so many years with no ideas at all. So I'd be content if the ideas just kept coming, and hopefully have a few people still enjoy reading them as I go along. So those are my next steps, just to keep on chugging.
Well, we are delighted that you're going to keep writing. We're waiting for your words.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for joining me today.
Oh, it was an honor. I appreciate you asking.
Oh.
Thank you.
It's brilliant. So I'm looking forward very much to reading some more, and I'm going to buy that book because I need to know what
No.
happened.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much. I
Thank
will
you.
see you very soon. Mwah.